Hello.
Hello.
Does it work? Okay.
Test, test.
All right.
Oh.
No, me.
One of the computers is mic's on.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jamie. Welcome. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Economic Development Subcommittee agenda meeting for August 23rd, 2023. The time being 5:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I will read the note to residents. All citizens are welcome to attend public board committee meetings in person. Meetings are also live streamed and archived by Franklin TV on Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel. Meetings are also shown live on repeat on Comcast Channel 11 and Verizon Channel 29, but one of those is going to change soon. So keep an eye out for the change of the number. I'm looking at Steve, and number 8, I think we go to. Comcast changes. Okay. In an effort to maximize citizen engagement opportunities, citizens are welcome to continue to participate remotely via phone or Zoom. The link is on the agenda on the town website. You can also call in 1-929-205-6099. The meeting ID number is 844-7365-9696, and then press the pound button. Tonight is we are going to discuss zoning map changes from single-family residence 3 to business in an area on or near King Street. There's a memo and a map in the agenda. All of the participants on the EDC are actually with me in chambers tonight. So I am going to throw it over to Jamie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hopefully very quickly, this is almost close to a house cleaning item, but opponent came before, alerted us to these two parcels right over here on King Street. If you look at the map on the left, you'll notice a red line around two parcels. And to the left of that is actually the Atria Senior Living Complex. And to the right of that is the fire station.
Fire station.
Not the headquarters downtown, but obviously Station 2, right off the exit of 495 at the corner of Upper Union.
So can I just interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
So single-family resident 3, that's where Atria is?
Correct.
Okay.
And currently on the left within that zone are two other parcels that are single res 3.
Mm-hmm.
One of the parcels, the smaller one, does have a single family home on it. And the one to the right of it is not developed yet. And it appears that those parcels are under agreement, both of them, from a proponent who is looking to use those parcels as a commercial industrial, really a business use technically, but under the zoning, but just for the illustration for the folks at home, for some sort of business operation on those parcels, and requested to the town whether we would consider a rezone of those two parcels. I know Madam Chair and the other members of the committee, particularly Councilor Frangillo, have had a long series on Franklin matters relative to property tax levy, new growth, and how all these mechanics work. The staff had a quick conversation and thought, well, that does actually make a lot of sense. From a property value standpoint, that parcel that's not developed yet would only then become one house.
Right.
And we're not really sure about the appetite for a house right next to a police station, and then on the other side,
Fire.
an assisted living complex, and then, oh, by the way, behind of it is EMC,
Right.
okay?
That's
So
in-
you're
in the-
basically landlocked between a very, very challenging traffic intersection and obviously a lot of noise with 495, the fire station, the complex, and then EMC. So staff took a look at it and thought that it made sense from both, probably from the perspective of the proponent who would like to acquire those parcels to do some sort of retail establishment, and then also from a property value standpoint here in Franklin, it would certainly increase, I think, the value of the properties of the higher and better, best use. And right across the street, you'll notice that there's a big blue zone as well. That's also zoned business. And so it's pretty commensurate for the area.
Yes.
Right.
And so we thought we'd bring it before the EDC quickly. Just for everybody's edification, if this were to move on from the EDC tonight, the council and the planning board would have just enough time, just enough time. If everybody felt this was the right move, we would have just enough time to be able to get this done before the November election. Just for the record, the election has nothing to do with this. But as you all know in the charter, if legislation that's pending before the election essentially goes back to ground zero, it has to start all over again, right?
Right.
And so you'd have to pick this back up next year. And while those parcels are apparently under agreement, we're trying to do a good customer service feature where hopefully those parcels, maybe the folks that have an agreement could actually start some sort of planning process on what they could do with that, which is really good for the town, good for customers, and good for the business owner. So staff basically felt this was a win-win-win, and I'm bringing it to you tonight to get the input of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Jones, do you have any comments?
Yep. I'm completely in support of this. This is something we did years ago to extend the Stop and Shop business area across the street to which was at the time a residential zone. It's simply an extension of the zoning, which is great because it was an adjacent piece of property. It wasn't necessarily abutting it, even though it was across the street from it. So the thought process was to add to the neighborhood, that extension of the business zone, and now today we have Starbucks and the medical place and all the other businesses in that area. It was one of the wisest moves that we made. One of the issues that came up back then, and this is something just kind of for the record, was people like, well, that's spot zoning. And it's not, because all we're really doing is just extending a zone that already exists immediately adjacent to it in order to for economic development needs, and just to simply say, I'm 101% in support of this piece of legislation, and partly because just to move forward, it makes sense. The faster that we can get this process moving, the better chance we have to get that property developed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there, I guess the only other question that I can think of right now would be like, why not industrial? Why business? And I think we know, but maybe you want to let the audience know.
Well, I think to the point that Councilor Jones brought up, and Brian is more than welcome to come up and talk about this too, it just confines the uses down to really a more retail customer-based business, as opposed to maybe having another exit out of EMC, or if that land were to transfer over, where you're looking at a different set of uses, right? I mean, this basically limits it to at least some sort of, or in all likelihood, based on the parcel size, the configuration, the traffic. I think what you're likely to see there is some sort of service-related business as you go out into the center of town, really to get on 495. So we just thought it made a lot more sense from a usage standpoint, and from a strategy standpoint of what it could be. Business we thought was the best one. I don't know if Brian, if you have any thoughts too.
That covers it really. Brian Sperner, Director of Planning and Community Development. The uses that would be allowed in the business zone are, well, they're regular business, or retail services, things of that nature. If you go into the industrial zone, that opens up a lot more potential development right on King Street. And there are quite a few homes in the area, and right next to a nursing home and things of that nature. So industrial, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get on a retail or service either, but it'll be much less impact on the neighbors.
Right. Okay, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Frangillo, do you have any comments, questions?
I would just say that this certainly makes sense to me from the point of, it would be hard to sell a home, and if you did, it wouldn't be a very valuable one because of where it is, right? You're pulling out of a driveway into a busy intersection. onto a highway on-ramp next to a fire station, you know, so I do think it makes sense from that standpoint, unless I'm missing something. So my only question was, did this process, or at some point I know that the process does trigger, has it already triggered a notification to abutters and current residents of that?
It is through you, Madam Chair, it is not. That would, and correct me, Brian, if I'm wrong, I believe that would start at the planning board hearing process. Even the referral to planning board step at the council level doesn't require an abutter or some sort of notification.
That's true. I do have a letter that is drafted already, and as soon as I know if it goes forward, as soon as I know when the council will look at it first, coming up in a couple of weeks or whenever it is, and then we'll get, hopefully at that time, we'll have the dates of the 2 public hearings. We can put in the same letter and send it out. And,
Okay.
you know, they've only got 20 letters maybe, but
Yeah,
we will
if
get
that.
them out there. Yeah.
Cool. No, that was the only thought. This makes sense to me for now, and, you know, pending further information, I think we should pass it on.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Sheridan, do you have anything to add?
I concur.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. Oh, okay, sure. We have a comment from the audience.
Hi, my name is Maxwell Marangello. I live at 127 Central Park Terrace. I have a question and then just sort of a follow-up comment, I guess. I see the current owner of one of the properties is Cumberland Farms. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
It-
Yep. Jamie?
Through you, Madam Chair, the owner currently is Cumberland Farms, but it appears that another party has made an agreement with both parcels.
So I guess my concern is that, you know, we take great pride in being a green community, and that means reducing the effect of carbon emissions. You know, we see all the wacky weather going on. And so one of the zoning uses for the business district is a gas station. And so I think that if we're looking at zoning and we care about our green community status, maybe we could send it back to zoning or strike the ability of it to be a gas station. I'm all in favor of being business or some other business use, but to have it another gas station in Franklin when we're trying to shift to electric vehicles, I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense. So with that, I yield.
Thank you, Max.
Question.
Maybe it could be a charging station.
It's what I was just thinking, the same thing.
Instead of gas, it could be a charging.
We can't do
Con-
that, though, right? We can't put any requirements on it.
Through Madam Chair,
Yeah.
you'd have to change the whole zone to eliminate gas stations, right?
Right.
But just to note, one point that Max did point out is, this isn't the permitting process, right?
Right.
The planning board, special permits, ZBA, whatever that is gonna go through what's likely to be a rigorous process too. Just to note, I don't believe, I'm just 99% sure, I'll go back and really make sure, but I'm pretty sure there's not a sewer extension there either. So that would have to also come before the council at some point. So there's still a long road ahead for any permitting. And it's important, I think, what Max brought up is, you know, people may start to hypothesize, and even if it is a gas station, a convenience store, a retail center, an office park, you know, a strip mall, whatever, we have to look at that land and say, what are the uses that are applicable to actually make it to some level of high value? That's how you get new growth. That's how you get tax levy revenue. But I think if you were to exile a gas station, you'd have to go into the code and eliminate it
Right.
across the board.
Right. Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a point of clarification, ma'am, through you to either Brian or Jamie. Would that particular location be immediate, I'm going to call it exit 16 because I forget the number that it's called. But that piece of the road, is that not still state, what is it, Steve? 41. Is that not still state property? Is the road at least up past the fire station and past that parcel?
I don't know exactly where the line ends,
Yeah.
but that is state highway up there. If you look at where the paving job was done,
Right.
that's probably a good indication
Right.
of where the line
That's
is
what
from
I was-
state to local.
That's what I was thinking.
You think they could go a little further, but
Nah.
I bet you it's probably pretty close.
The only reason I ask is that if there were a proposal to put in a gas station, would the state have some say in that matter?
Through Madam Chair, I would imagine they would be in a butter. You know, at some point around 300 feet, it would be close. You know, but again, they would be notified at a time when there was actually a proposal for a
Mhm.
planning board special
Yeah.
permit, right? So.
Exactly.
We
Okay.
have to see what the proposals are first.
Just curious about that. Madam Chair, like I said, I'm 100% in support of this.
Thank you, Counselor Jones. We have another comment from the chambers.
Steve Sherlock, 10 Ladders 5, Franklin Matters. Question more in regards to the process, and I agree. I like the fact that at least it was disclosed as well, the timing, and if it didn't work before the election, then it would have to restart. Right. Also on that, in terms of a process standpoint, if you don't approve it, do we know what happens to the deal? Does the deal simply fall through because they were looking to do something required business and can't be done in resident? Is that available, et cetera? Curious. Thanks.
Jamie?
It's a great question. I mean, these are private landowners. I'd have to talk to somebody to find out whether or not that's public, if that were to happen. I just think we're a little further down the line. I understand the hypotheticals, but,
Right.
you know, our job is to really evaluate whether that's a correct zoning policy, if you will. Not necessarily whether deals fall through or what the contingencies are. I mean, that also will get worked out in a planning board process
Right.
with the
Right.
Conservation Commission and the ZBA.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for the comments. Is there anyone online? Oh, you can come up again. This is a friendly meeting.
Thank you. 127 Central Park Terrace, Franklin, Massachusetts. Is there any other zoning categories that would be similar to this that wouldn't have a gas station, or would they all have that requirement in them?
Not adjacent to it.
No. Brian?
There's only 2 other zones that, I don't know if the C2 zone would be appropriate for that location, but they do allow gas stations there.
Yeah.
C1, which I don't know if they have, if that's listed, I could look it up, but I don't recommend the C1. It's not appropriate, I don't think, for that location. But that would be about it, I think.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Okay, well, I think, I think this is would be a good use of the land, and I think it makes the property worth more. Maybe we'll get a little income and help our new growth part of the budget. I think we should just move this forward, and then we'll see how far it goes. And so I would accept a motion.
I was just about to say, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to move the proposed zoning map changes to full council.
Second, I have all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. It passes. We'll move this on to the full council to then go to the planning board. Okay? And then we can have our public hearings.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
I have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So thank you all. Thanks for watching.
Wow. That was
That was
amazing.
quick. That's good.